Hey, welcome back. We are now in part 4 of the Klingon Katinga model build, and we're getting on to assembling the main body here. And we've got a bunch of little teeny pieces that go around the outside exterior of the body, and there's some Photoetch pieces in here as well, which I'm going to use to replace the plastic kit pieces. So to start with, we have the lower body section here, and we've got some pieces that go on here. We have this little sphere piece in the very back here. We have another piece here. Of course, you gotta turn it around because the holes have to match to go in the right way, which is a good thing they do on kits. And we have another piece, a cap that goes here, which is what holds the model, but I will be capping it because this model is going to be hanging. And then we've got a couple of little fine pieces on either side here that go on the front. I will not be attaching these yet. I'm going to be doing that at a later point in time because of handling the model. I don't want to accidentally break these off, so I'll be dealing with these later. But we've got these little parts that go right here. And then we also have here a clear piece which goes here for another blinking, flashing LED, which I will not be installing till the very end because obviously I don't want that to get painted, so I'll just throw that on at the end of the build. And now magically they're all glued in position and they're secured to the lower section of the body. So if you take the body and flip it over, we have a couple of pieces that go on either side. There are these grills here, and they go on either side like so. And then we also have two little clear pieces which go on either side here for some more lights. There's little windows there, and those clear pieces are to help diffuse the light, but of course I'll be using diffusion paper in addition. We also have on the front here a bunch of little pieces. That's where the Photoetch is going to go. And moving on to the top section here of the main body, and we have a couple pieces that go on the rear on either side here, the disruptor weapons. Got one on this side, we have one that goes on the other side here. And then we have the power transfer conduits which go on either side right next to the disruptor weapons. Then we also have one more piece which goes on the very back right here. And these pieces all surround the energy matter sink, which will go right there like so. And then we have one last piece to be glued into position, which is this plate here, which covers up the front section in front of the energy matter sink. And once again, just like magic, they are all glued into place, and the top half of the body is basically all assembled and ready to be painted. And then the energy matter sink will fit right in between these pieces. It's nice and snug and tight, so hopefully there won't be any light leaking I'll need to deal with, and it fits in there nice and tight, though it will be glued into position as well. So I've taped up this top section here where the energy matter sink goes. I've taped up the whole rear of the body where the rear panels go, and I put the two halves together so that I can prime them. Again, I've put them together so that the seams won't be painted, and that way it makes it easier to glue them together at a later point. So it's all primed here. Both halves of the body are primed, looking really good. It's funny how just primer brings out the detail. And of course this rear section here is covered by tape, so the rear pieces can be glued in at a later point in time without the paint getting in the way. And then I've also gone and I've painted those two little pieces I had talked about earlier, which go on the bottom here, and I'll be gluing those on at a later point. So we've got rear pieces and front pieces here. These pieces These four here are the rear section of the main body, And then we have these that go on the front where the neck attaches. And I've gone and I've primed all of these pieces, you know, the rear pieces. We have these that go on the front next to the neck. We have these little teeny pieces like antenna arrays and whatever these little pieces are, all go on the front where the neck attaches. And this whole front section and sides, as well as the rear pieces here, these and this hanger bay piece right back here will all be the same color, and I'll be using that same buff and iron that I used on part of the neck section. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to airbrush all of these areas here on the main body, and then I'm going to continue on and airbrush the rear pieces as well. And there we've got the paint is all painted on and dried, and the rear pieces here the same color, and then the hanger bay right here also the same color. I do also have a couple photos here of the actual studio model, and I'm using this for color reference so that I can try to get it as close as possible, all the detailing and everything that's in here. Looks a little blue on camera, but it's more green in person. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these two halves apart here, and I'm going to take these grills on either side and I'm going to paint those up by themselves a different color, because they're not really supposed to be that same buff iron color. So I'm going to shoot them with Tamiya XF56 metallic gray. Just give them, you know, a darker, obviously metallic look to them. And so those are painted here, and they will just fit right back inside these sections, and you can see the color there. It looks kind of cool, looks metallic, it gives it a little bit of a darker shade, and they pop and stand out there on the sides. Then I'm going to go ahead and I am going to start painting the body with the Tamiya flat green. The entire bottom side of the body with Tamiya flat green. Then I'm going to go ahead and proceed on with the top half of the body also with the Tamiya flat green. And that's going to be my base color for this whole model here. And we've got that all done and ready to go. And then I had taped off the front, and you can see here the buff and iron colors on the front. And then the top half just sits on the bottom half like so. And that's kind of what it's going to be looking like at this point. So I'm going to move on to the Photoetch here. I'm going to cut out these little pieces, and I'm going to get the Photoetch ready. I'm not going to be gluing it on yet, but I'm going to go ahead and get the pieces cut out and primed so that they can be attached at a later point in time. So I'm going to start with these two sections here, which consists of 4 parts. You've got these little pads, you got these 4 pieces here and these 4 pieces that all go together. And you'll also notice there's just a little nub here from where it was cut out of the Photoetch. So I'm going to go through and use a little bit of sanding stick and get rid of those nubs there, and you can see that I've cleaned them up so they're nice and clean, sharp edges now. And I've taped this piece on here just to hold it up off the mat, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply some glue here. I'm going to glue this first piece on right here, put a little glue on this end, which is where one of these paddles go, and then glue on this other half and glue this little paddle on. And I've got those 2 Photoetch pieces glued and ready to be painted. Moving on, we have these pieces here, which you'll see these little creases these need to be folded into a 3D shape. So I'm going to go ahead and start and fold this end up, and this is going to be folded into like a little box. It's a little hard to do it on camera, so I did it off camera, but you can see it's all folded up now. The sides folded downward and this back section folded into a little box. And then we have two other pieces that I cut out which also were folded, a little bit of a different shape. And then we have these final two photo etch pieces here which also need to be folded, and these are some type of antenna or something like that, and I've got those folded and ready to be painted. And here's just an interesting shot of the photo etch pieces next to their kit plastic counterpart pieces, and you can see the difference. The plastic pieces are just thick, bulky, they're not as sharp and clean as the photo etch, especially this piece here. There's not even detail like the photo etch pieces have. And even this antenna, it's just nothing close to what the photo etch can do for something like that. So I've gone and I've primed all of these photo etch pieces once again with my Tamiya primer. And then all of these pieces are going to be glued into various areas on the front here once everything's been painted. So that's going to cover it for this episode. We've got the whole body assembled and base color painted. Next episode I'm going to get in and do all the fine detail painting and feathering and painting all the rest of the model and then getting it assembled for the final reveal. So once again, I'd like to thank you for taking the time for watching. Hey, if you like watching my videos, please feel free to give them a like. And so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos, click subscribe.